Concepts of chemistry are explained in the context of a short story. Hi, my name is Hydrogen. I live in the land called Chemistry Land. All kids from Chemistry Land are my twin brothers and they are all called Hydrogen or H for short. My mother's name is Carbon. All moms in Chemistry Land are called Carbon or C for short. My father's name is Oxygen. He is from the town of Oxygen where the police and fire stations are located. He is a fireman. All men from Oxygen are named Oxygen or just O for short. They roam in pairs so you can call them OO when they approach. This is a map of Chemistry Land. I used to live in Hydrocarbon, a gas station town selling petroleum products like gas, gasoline, and oil. Only moms with their kids lived there. It had sometimes a very explosive atmosphere. It was like a shelter for single moms. There was one lady, Methane, with 4 kids. She was so funny, people called her a gas. Her neighbor was a family called Ethane, with 2 moms. They had 6 kids who fought a lot. They were a very explosive family. On the other side lived the Propane family with 3 moms. They sold gas in canisters that was used for portable stoves. They had 8 kids. They lived in a tank and were under so much pressure that they turned from a gas to a liquid. The Benzines across the street were a circle of 6 moms and 6 children, forming a very aromatic family. They worked together with their neighbors down the road to make a fuel for cars called gasoline. Further down the road, there were butanes with 4 moms and 8 kids who were always under pressure and liquefied in lighters. The pentanes with 5 moms and 12 kids, the hexanes with 6 moms and 14 kids, the heptanes with 7 moms and 16 kids, and the octanes with 8 moms. Mrs. Octane had 18 kids. There were many much bigger families, many with as many as over 30 moms with all the kids they could hold. But these bigger families didn't socialize or get around at all. They were like frozen stiff wax figures, not moving at all. One day, our gas station community had a fire. The firemen and policemen from the next town, Oxygen, were immediately called. The men arrived in teams of 2. The men separated and so did the families. Kids were running in every direction. We were all left homeless. The firemen took the ladies away and the policemen took the children to safety. Then they drove us all back to the town of Oxygen. The policemen from Oxygen took such a liking to the children they rescued that most of them gave up their jobs, adopted the kids, and became single fathers. One single father was Mr. Water and his 2 kids. The Water family, or H2O as they were called for short, were very happy and well liked because they got along so well with everyone. The firemen who took the ladies away were treated like dirt. They were called the carbon dioxides, or CO2 for short. People accused them of being a danger to everyone. One day, the Water family had a fight. One of the sons ran away, leaving the father abandoned and all alone with his remaining son. Mr. Water started drinking and got friendly with Miss Methane and moved in with her. They changed their name to the Methanols. Miss Methane, a nurse, had an obsession with germs. She was constantly wiping everything and rubbing it till it was clean. Eventually it became too much for Mr. Water, and he moved out with his son and moved in with the Ethane sisters, who were barmaids. They became known as the Ethanols. They had a reputation for partying a lot. Other single dads with single kids saw what a great time the Ethanols were having and 3 of them moved in with the propanes, and they became the glycerol family. People found them sweet. The gas station with single moms for cars turned into a drinking bar for couples, and the commune changed its name from hydrocarbons to alcohol. One day, a relative of Mr. Methanol arrived unexpectedly and moved in. It caused quite a stir. 2 of the kids eventually moved out, and to add acid to the wound, this relative was hanging onto Mrs. Methanol with a double grip. Naturally, the family, already sour, became very corrosive. They were called the formic acids and compared to the sting of biting ants. The same thing happened with the ethanols. When a relative of the family suddenly turned up, they became so sour that people called them the vinegars instead of by their real name, the acetic acids. The benzenes broke the circle and paired up with 5 single dads and 1 hanger-on. People thought the family bloody sweet and called them the glucose family, but they didn't have a sweet ending. They moved into a wine community, and larger families broke up into the smaller families like the ethanols. Their happiness didn't last. They were soon invaded by single men who only wanted to be hanger-ons with a double grip. It made the families very sour. So the once sweet and intoxicating town of alcohol turned sour. It had more acid families than alcohol families and changed its name to acid. Some of the acid families had women who, because of their sour character, were very strong. Some of the alcohol families had women who were intoxicating with their beauty, but who were unfortunately lacking in strength. Mr. Esther, an entrepreneur, hired strong ladies from acid families and beautiful ladies from alcohol families and mixed them in attractive combinations of beauty and strength. He was able to match any alcohol family with any acid family and combine the strengths of the two. He made unique teams with unique strengths in his polyester company, making such things as bulletproof vests called Mylar and rocket-proof armor called Kevlar. He teamed the glycerol family with 3 families of fatty acids in his soap company. The glycerides were the managers, and the 3 fatty acids were the workers. His team was called the triglycerides. Whenever a very aggressive family lie was present, the triglyceride team broke up, which of course caused the freed fatty acids to get very sour. Like all acids, the fatty acids became negatively charged. The lye family consisted of Mrs. Sodium, who was busy like a bee and had a very metallic disposition, and Mr. Oxygen and his kid. Mr. Oxygen saw his chance at getting a second boy, which he always wanted, and dumped his wife, which he also always wanted. He traded with the fatty acid his stinging wife for one of their boys. Mrs. Sodium joined the fatty acids and they formed a new family called Soap. The boy who was traded joined Mr. Oxygen and his boy, and they formed a very happy water family. The waters and the soaps got together and formed a cleaning business. They worked very well together because the soap family had a fatty tail that dissolved easily in fat, and they wore a metallic cap that dissolved easily in water. The tail of the soaps gathered oil like a broom and formed oil droplets, which were surrounded by the waters who easily flushed the greasy dirt away. Mr. Esther had a friend called Mr. Teflon who also made interesting products. He took chains of carbon atoms from carbohydrate families and substituted the H children with cousins of chlorine called fluorine from the halogen families. He called his product Teflon. Things do not stick to Teflon because the fluorine atoms fit over the otherwise sharp unpaired electrons of the carbon chains like smooth snap buttons over barbs in a barbed wire. The smooth outward-facing side of the fluorine atoms with their paired electrons so optimally and tightly fit that it leaves no empty spaces and no slightly sticking out electrons. This results in a very smooth and thus non-sticky surface. Mr. Esther suggested that Mr. Teflon weave strands of his Teflon into a sheet with micropores. He called his new textile Gore-Tex. Gore-Tex is impervious to water molecules like a mirror is to light. Because it is so smooth, it does not tear and break up water droplets that are held together in a drop by the special bonds made by the hydrogens, which are slightly positive due to their protruding protons. At the same time, its pores allow individual water vapor molecules in the air, called humidity, to pass through.